Why it was important to focus on math and science in particular?
Okay. As a scientist, I worked for many years at Abbott Laboratories.
Mm-hmm.
And I, as a scientist, realized that young children are natural scientists.
Mm.
And science, for me personally, is at the base of everything. Now, you can't do math and science if you can't read and write. And that was something that we learned very early at Lions Academy. Our first robot camp, we had the children come in and they were going to uh, uh, basically put together their robots and then program them from the computer. What we found was many of the kids that were coming in from the public schools who joined the camp couldn't read.
Mm.
And so they couldn't really do what was necessary to build their robots and have them. Only very few actually operated them from the computer. We decided right then that in order for our kids to do math and science, we had to give them the basics of reading and writing first. And so we have become a school of readers. Most of the schools at Lions Academy really do, most of the children at Lions Academy really do read. When I first started out, our goal for our kindergartners was that only a small percentage of them, about 25% of them, should read at the first grade level. We found out that after that first year that our kids could do so much more. And now the goal is 100% of our kids have to read at a first grade level. We don't always reach that goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's not as important as getting most of those students ready to or already reading at the first grade level.
What are some things that I think other school systems and just people have misconstrued about black and brown kids in terms of learning math and science and just what are some things that
Perhaps that has been the most distressing thing for me in bringing this school to this community is we have hired some teachers from the public schools and who have been trained in more traditional teaching programs. And they come in with the expectation that our children can't learn math or can't learn science, do science at the level that other kids do in other neighborhoods, such as in say Lake Forest or even Gurney and Barrington. Many of the communities on the North Shore, I have visited the schools. Almost all of the communities, I have visited the schools, including those in Winnetka, and I have seen the differences in how science and math are taught, even some of the other subjects, but more importantly, for me, the math and science. And that was, I don't know if you know it, but I served as on the selection committee for IMSA. And IMSA is the Illinois Math and Science Academy for the gifted children of the state of Illinois.
wow.
So you have to be nominated by your principal and several teachers in your schools to become accepted at that school. But I visited IMSA and I was just amazed that many of the teachers are Nobel laureates, have won Nobel Prizes and have come in to serve as lecturers or to perhaps do a demonstration with the kids. But most of the learning is project based. And I thought, what better way to learn is to actually give a child a project and they actually have to work through that project. When they are working through that project, all their skills are being developed.
Yeah.
Well, I found that for most of the kids who were selected to come into IMSA, many were Caucasian. Very few children from this area, from the North Shore, of color, very few children of color. And that was the major thing for me, which had me decide that we have to do the math and science better in this community. And I started to visit schools. And as I had shared with many of my teachers, including Michelle, is when I went into the schools in North Chicago in Waukegan, and this is not to put the schools down, but when I went into those science classes, most often I saw health being taught, safety being taught as science. The science centers had dust on them in many instances, or you could see that the equipment had
Wow.
not been used, so very little hands-on engaging science. And that's really where it starts.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided we're going to do math and science for young children. We're going to keep that passion that children have for science. They're naturally curious about everything, and that's how they grow and learn,
Right.
by asking questions. And and one of the things that we uh, don't allow it at Lions is for a child to say, I can't.
Yeah.
Because we feel that right at the very beginning, we give them that verse, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And we really do believe that. And as Michelle said, we believe that every child is a genius. If you are familiar with the multiple intelligences, we know that children, all people have intelligences, their own areas, some more dominant areas than others. Our school is, the philosophy behind our school is multiple intelligence. We believe that every child is gifted in some area. And we see it. And a child gifted in linguistics comes in and doesn't need phonics to read.
Right.
They just read.
Right.
And children gifted in math, mathematical, logical, have that area of giftedness. They can work almost any problem or solve any problem if they're given the right math curriculum to give them those basic skills to do it.
I'll be honest with you, Dr. Swopes. Math, that wasn't my thing. I couldn't get with it. Science was cool, and I know they kind of go hand in hand with depending upon what you're studying. But math, I can't.
You know what I found though? I found it when I took my first class in training children to learn math. I never realized that at the very beginning as a preschooler, there's something called concept of number. And if a child doesn't have concept of number before you start teaching them to add and subtract and multiply, it stops them right there. And they can't move forward. So what is this concept of number?
Yeah, what is that?
It means knowing that 1 means 1, 2 means 2, 3 means 3. Now you're probably sitting there saying, no, not all of us do that. We count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at what, 3 years of age. But if you take that child, this is a wonderful way to test it, give them 10 items, have them counted up to 10 in front of you. Just take the items and push them all together and look at the child and say, now how many beans do you have there, or items do you have there? Many will start, if they don't have concept of number, they'll either hesitate and guess, or they'll push them back out and start counting them again. It means that they don't, and they don't have that concept of number. When they count, have you seen young children go 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Yeah.
10? Yeah. They don't have concept of number yet. And it's also called, well, there's a name for it. And it's the same thing for volumes of things,
Okay.
volumes of water, things, those quantities, knowing what they really are before you start teaching children. That's why I'm really hard on teachers who will tell a pre-K3 that my child can add. Look at them, they're doing. Do they have concept of number first? And if they don't have it, don't push the addition and subtraction yet.
Yeah.
It's progressive, and math is progressive.
Yeah.
And if you get those first ones, those first skills first, and build on them, you will be very successful. The Singapore math that we offer at Lions Academy, the TIM study everyone may not be familiar with, but Singapore scored #1 in the world in math. They continue to score #1 in math and science.
Wow.
Why? It's the way they teach math. And when I looked at Singapore math, I almost cried because I thought, I wish someone had taught me math like this, if you look at the 5th grade curriculum in Singapore math, they're doing algebra that I did in college.
Yeah.
But they don't call, it's not called algebra, but the concepts, the way it's presented, and the way they learn is algebra. So by the time they are ready to take algebra, the kids already know how to do it. They know the thinking process, the problem-solving process, the critical thinking that occurs there is awesome.
Hey everybody, thanks for kicking it with me in the wormhole. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. That red button below that says subscribe, click that button, and then also the bell right next to it so you can get alerts for all of my new interviews.